Well, a very warm welcome to this wonderful day of celebration. One of the highlights in the academic calendar when we celebrate the fantastic achievements of these great graduands, or they are before me in the hall and here on the stage behind me, to celebrate their wonderful outcomes as we award their degrees today. And you're here in the Barony Hall, one of the jewels in the university's crown. It's where we have our celebrations on an annual basis. And over the course of the next fortnight, we'll be graduating just shy of 4,000 students. Let me correct that, 4,000 graduates who are going to go out into the world, make a difference, and have a great impact. And to the families, friends, supporters, and colleagues, it's wonderful to have you here as well. This makes a big difference where we can come together. Boy, have we been missing this over the past couple of years. Now, every occasion like this is enormously enjoyable, but occasionally we have an extra way to celebrate, and that's when we award an honorary degree on behalf of the university to highly accomplished individuals. Well, that's from the business world, or from public sector, or indeed academia, industry. And today we've got a wonderful alumnus, Leslie Stretch, who's here with us. We're very proud of Leslie's achievements, and you'll hear a little bit more about that shortly from Professor Ian Rivers, who will introduce Leslie. And then Leslie will give us some reflections before we start. So as we get into the process, those of you that come across the stage, I'm going to cap you. So don't flinch as I lift the cap to tap you in the head, which is an ancient reflection of a rite of passage. And long time ago, this thing before me, this kneeler, is where the students used to come along and either the Vice-Chancellor, me, or the Chancellor would be the other side sitting down, and we would cap the individual. We're not so happy these days about people kneeling before us. It doesn't feel quite right or respectful. Although I have to say, I've knelt on this kneel. My master's and my PhD, and I reckon there's been 120,000 sets of knees on this kneeler. But don't kneel on it today, please, because it may not stand the weight. But also allows us to keep a degree still of social distancing as we observe an appropriate way to do things. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, you're here to enjoy yourselves. So polite applause is always appropriate, but letting your hair down and letting the graduates know that you're here is every bit as appropriate as well, so don't feel inhibited at all. So with that, I'll declare the congregation formally open, and I'll invite Professor Rivers, who's a University Associate Principal and Dean of Humanities and Social Sciences, to introduce our honorary graduate. Thank you very much. Enjoy the ceremony.
Principal and Vice-Chancellor, I have the honor to present to you Leslie Stretch, President and Chief Executive Officer of Medallia. Leslie Stretch graduated from the University of Strathclyde in 1983 with a Bachelor of Arts degree with honors in Economics and Social History and Industrial Relations. Following completion of his studies at Strathclyde, he earned a postgraduate diploma in Computer Systems Engineering from the University of Edinburgh and has since been certified by the Directors Consortium of the Stanford Graduate School of Business, an initiative for executives leading public companies or those companies that are likely to go public. Leslie Stretch began his career working in investment banking with Salomon Brothers. In 1988, he joined Oracle, and in his time there, he held a variety of management roles, first in Scotland between 1989 and 94, and then as branch manager for Western Canada from 94 to 96. On leaving Oracle, Leslie joined Sun Microsystems, rising to the post of managing director of the billion-dollar UK subsidiary before relocating to California as senior vice president of global channel sales and UK managing director, splitting his time between London and California. Leslie briefly was appointed interim chief executive officer for the Hansard Group, floating the company on the AIM exchange, and later that year was appointed vice president of global sales at Calidus Software. He was subsequently appointed president and chief executive officer of Calidus in 2007, and notably rebranded the company as Calidus Cloud and led a refocusing of the company specializing in cloud and mobile lead-to-money solutions. When Leslie took over Calidus, the company had a net enterprise value of $10 million. However, during Leslie's 10 years as president and CEO, his team delivered what can only be described as an outstanding return on the company's investment in him as its leader. When SAP acquired Calidus for $2.6 billion in 2018, early investors received a 250 times return on their capital. The key to this success was his team's commitment to the transition from modern cloud business and to a modern cloud business delivery model. Today, Leslie is president and CEO of Medallia, a pioneer in digital customer and employee experience management. Medallia has a book value of $800 million when he joined the company in August 2018. It has subsequently been floated on the New York Stock Exchange in 2019 and was taken private by Thoma Bravo, the leading software private equity company, for $7 billion in November 2021. And it is through Leslie that Strathclyde is reaping the benefits of working closely with Medallia, learning more about our colleagues within the university to further support our place as a world-class employer as well as educator. Throughout his career, Leslie has supported the development of other companies and organizations, as well as individuals, and this includes students, staff, and alumni of the University of Strathclyde. Outside the university, he is a Sequoia Limited partner, an angel investor, and has been a board member of public tech companies Quad and Mobileyon. As a result of this impact Leslie has had on the world of cloud-based technologies, he received the Service to the Citizen Industry Executive of the Year Award in 2021. He is also a supporter of LGBTQ rights in the US, having donated 7 figures to the Trevor Project, a leading US support network and suicide prevention organization focusing on lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and questioning youth. As I mentioned earlier, Leslie has remained a close friend of the university. So far, he has donated £3 million to Strathclyde to support our students and our work as a leading international technological university. He has given £800,000 to support undergraduate scholarships and widening participation in higher education, and it's particularly for those who might not think university is a destination for them. Crucially, through his gift, he supported our students during COVID-19 and provided much-needed financial support during a time of unprecedented hardship. Leslie has also given us £97,000 to support the Strathclyde Entrepreneurs Fund, a university initiative to support students, staff, and alumni get business ideas off the ground. In terms of our world-leading research, Leslie's generosity has been at the heart of key development, such as the Institute for Inspiring Children's Futures, which received £120,000 for its Centre of Doctoral Training. And we received $1 million for our work in health and care futures, with an especial focus on digital health research. Most recently, in 2022, Leslie donated a further $1 million to support major initiatives that will benefit Scotland and the UK. In addition to increasing the number of scholarships he already endows, his gift supports the development of our new centres for future hospitals, an inspiring initiative to create practical solutions for hospital care now and in the future. And his gift supports the development of the Strathclyde Centre for Autism and Neurodiversity, the first centre of its kind to work across 3 domains: technology, professional practice, and service delivery. Our aim is that this centre will be self-sustaining after 3 years. It is difficult to encapsulate in one speech the achievements and contributions Leslie has made to business, our university, and more widely to society in general. However, today, Leslie, we're able to honor you in our own way and offer you our heartfelt thanks. Therefore, it is with great pleasure, Principal and Vice-Chancellor, that with the authority of Senate, I ask you to confer upon Leslie Stretch the degree of Doctor of Science, honoris causa.
Leslie, I create you Doctor of Science honoris causa. We are enormously proud of your achievements. We're so glad you still connect to us, and today you become an extra special member of the Strathclyde community. Many congratulations. Well done.
Wow, it's great to be back in Glasgow. All the celebs are coming here. Johnny Depp, Phoebe Bridges. It's great. Now you've got me. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Principal and Vice-Chancellor, faculty, supportive families, most importantly, graduates. What a day. Thank you very much indeed for inviting me here to share your graduation. I'm delighted to accept this wonderful honor. Thank you, Sir Jim. Professor Rivers, thank you for your kind remarks. I'm very pleased that you were able to give my oration. Although I must confess, I barely recognized the individual you so eloquently described. Of course, I also want to share this recognition with my wife, Heather, today, who's here from San Francisco, and also my family. 2 of my 5 children are here too. Thanks for coming, guys. Thanks for helping me with the speech. Although, all of whom have supported me in my endeavor to give back meaningfully to a vital cause. The University of Strathclyde has been the central focus of my philanthropy so far, and this will continue to be the case. I chose to begin giving back to this university a few years ago now for several reasons, not least of which I spent 4 of the happiest years of my life here in this place. That is until, of course, I met my wonderful wife, seated here. The university provided the stability and foundation I needed to get out and get on in the world, which is what all of you are going to do now. So thank you. When I graduated in 1983, some of your lifetimes ago, this city and Strathclyde were very different. I was proud to graduate then, and I'm proud to graduate again with all of you. My support for the university is broad-based, as you've heard, but it's my assistants to undergraduates whose means and support systems are challenged that's most important to me. It's no joke to be sitting in a lecture theatre or a tutorial and to be worried about how to make ends meet, how to keep your place. It's no joke to enter the workplace burdened with debt either. It's also important to me, though, that students, through my gifts, are able to participate fully in the rich life of the university so they get the full Strathclyde experience. It's okay to spend money on fun. I believe opportunity to be the best gift we can give anyone. It might be the only real valuable thing we can give others. Also, don't forget, by donating to the university, we can maximize our giving impact. 100% of donors' contributions are applied directly to the cause. And my cause is to provide as much opportunity as I can and to do it through this great place of useful learning. I hope in years to come that you will all remember and support the university and its constituents. Think of it as an investment in your own brand, if you like. You do continue to nourish the foundation of your own careers by helping make this place great. Today's all about you. Congratulations on your outstanding academic achievements and on reaching this critical milestone. No one can take this achievement from you. You've laid the foundations for great things to come. Each of you should be feeling pretty good right now. Job 1 is done. The future awaits. At this time, the last thing I imagine you want is another lecture or tutorial from an out-of-touch old geezer with a bag full of dad jokes. And I see from this version that my son's edits have made it into my final speech. Thank you. Thankfully today, by the miracle of the digital revolution, you can watch Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, the great Robert Smith, amongst others, anytime you like, delivering transformational visionary commencement speeches. They're all brilliant, and you should watch them all. But I think it's more important for me today to be practical and to the point. I want to honor the tradition of Strathclyde as a place of useful learning and keep it brief. You're all about to engage with the world in a different way after today. It's a world full of excitement and opportunity. It's also a volatile and unpredictable place with fractured leadership, at times strange and frightening. Your generation and you, as computer and information scientists in particular, are one of the most important leadership constituencies of the moment. You can begin your journeys working normal jobs if you like, but in my view, none of you should end your careers as employees. Not this group, not from this place, and not now that you've come so far. At some point, you'll have to decide, continue taking the blue pill or the red pill. The blue pill of continuous employment, security, and stability and a monthly paycheck is okay for a while. We've all got to do it. I did it for 2 decades. But at some point, regardless of the security and the steady cash flow, we want to be fulfilled. We'll try and strike out. Coming from this place with this degree, that's your nature, that's your destiny. When it's offered, take the red pill. I don't think I need to explain that's an ode to the Matrix, right? Not to this audience. Great film. A few wee tips for the future, and I will finish. Try and own part or all of your businesses. Ownership is pure gold. It's 9.99 of the law. It's the route to proper wealth. You don't have to go to Silicon Valley anymore to make it big. The pandemic hammered home the message: work's something you do, not a place you go to. There's no doubt for many people the flexibility of remote work is preferred and more productive. Technology that many of you will build will enhance the virtually real manifestation of this life that's to come. Through the shocking pandemic of these times, it's as if the planet's telling us, and it is, fly less, drive less, pollute less, although I do have to fly back to London later, so allow me that. My own company's entirely remote, 3,500 people around the world with no physical offices anymore. We had 34 physical footprints before the pandemic, all gone. Please treat everyone, and I mean everyone you meet on your journey, as if they were your favorite customers. People will not remember how much they paid for a product or a service, but they'll remember how they were treated. Above all, treat your colleagues as customers and your employees as customers. It's magical. My final tip, life tip for all of you, is never, ever turn down a glass of champagne. Unless you are medically teetotal, turning down free champers is a clear signal that you're depressed, have lost your joie de vivre, and this will make you unattractive and unappealing to your employers, your family, your colleagues, and your friends. Just a wee tip. When I sat where you're sitting 2 lifetimes ago for some of you, 39 years ago, it was a bit stressful because all I could think about was I had 20 pounds in my pocket and that I needed to return my rented suit to Fraser's by 4 o'clock to get my £20 security deposit back. That gave me, quick math, 40 quid to go to the pub. Serious cash in 1983. So I couldn't wait for the geezer on stage to climb up so I could get going, and I'm sure, albeit on a much higher plane, you're now thinking the same thing. So it's time to celebrate and reflect. Thank your loved ones once again. Thank you. They've done a great job supporting you. And thank you for letting me share this day. The world is now officially your oyster. Thank you.
Principal and Vice-Chancellor, in the name of the University and by the authority of Senate, I present to you these students. For the degree of Doctor of Philosophy, for research in the Department of Computer and Information Sciences, Fawad Ahmed. Amna Ali Al-Sharani. Hanan Tariq Himdi. Diane Morrow. Christine Rooney Brown. For the degree of Master of Science in Advanced Computer Science, Bona Gaba. Artificial Intelligence and Applications, Fergus Stewart Patterson. Zoe Watts. In cybersecurity, Panayotis Antonio. Michael Bremner. Stuart Hamilton Hastings. Richard Harker. Michael McCafferty. David McCanney. Ryan Stanbridge. Monica Agnieszka Zija. In software development, James Horsfield. Mohammed Ali Lafiti. Selmira Antonietta Jonga Sebastião. For the degree of Master of Engineering in Computer Science, Kirsty Adair. Yusra Al Nasser. Connor Burns. David Peter Caldwell. Carlos King de Collingon. Liam Doolan. Ronan Angus Fox. Duncan John Fraser. Saida Ayla Galani. Kyle Gilhooly. Nathan David Goucher. Oscar Greinke. Ross James Campbell Gribben. Ellie Hunter. Andrew Hislop. Andrew McNeil. Dominic Meyer. Valentin Petrov. Ewan Quinn. Tony Sharkey. Emma Jane Shields. Hamza Tahir Sadiq. Ewan Skeen. Michael James Graham Smith. Nathan Spears. Kaloyana Stoyanova. Nikolai Valkov. Mark Watt. Paul Watt. For the degree of Bachelor of Science in Computer Science, Norman Campbell. Callum Malcolm Colley. Stefan Kostica. Luke Alexander Doty. Brandon Ferry. Awit Kiefer Fischer. Brian Greer. Claire Elizabeth Higgins. Thomas Edward Simpson Hines. Mihail Kalinov Christoph. Callum Ingalls. Lee Janets. Aidan Kelly. Elliot Keogh. Matthew King. Louis Samura Karoma. Mark Lee. Daniel Lowry. Dervla McCabe. Thomas McCarthy. Neil Maguire. Tom Mitchell. Matthew Nash. Zoe Pearson. Dean Reynolds. Sarah Ryan. Liam Smith. Joe Muir Stewart. James Robert Williamson. Michael Francis Woods. Callum Richmond Young. Fergus Robert Andrew. Kathleen Barrett. Elam Bakor. Jack Bowman. Daniel Carswell. Scott Cleland. Christopher Bruce Clements. Stephen Cohen. Aaron Jack Daisley. Mario Danoff. Matthew Alexander Esselman. Arzu Femova. Lewis Fleming. Blair Heggie. Josh James Aitchison Heggie. Lewis Johnston. Jonathan Kerr. William Kong. Justin Leung. Kieran Malloy. Craig Ross Murray. Jack Peacock. Manjinder Singh. Cameron Andrew Smith. Amelia Elena Stady. Benoit Thiers. Thomas Aidan Rees-Williams. Hassan Ashik. Biser Borislavov Dekov. Owen Bernard Forrest. Catherine Mary Henderson. Alexander Brian John McGuinness. Daniel Entwali. Casimir Onipe Ohekiri. Peter Petrov Spasov. Liam Matthias Barbiro McQuillan. Jude Eric Boyle. Jack Payton. In IT software development, Ross Irvin McPhee. In software engineering, Connor Kyle Bell. Paul James Hutchison. Christelle Selena Alexia Riedi. Cameron James Gemmell. Callum McIntosh McGeechy. Elena Sarah Madris Thrueth. Nicole Haggerty. Stephen Thomas O'Neill.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's give the class of 2022 a big round of applause. So, once again, ladies and gentlemen, Strathclyde graduates as you are now, let me reiterate our warm welcome to this wonderful ceremony, a day that you will never forget, and nor should you, because it marks the successful conclusion of years of hard work, and now you've graduated in front of your friends, your families and your supporters. And today, as you've seen, we welcome visitors from all parts of Scotland, from across the UK, and of course from a wonderful international community. And we're delighted to see you all here to join in the celebrations. Strathclyde is an institution where freedom of thought is valued and encouraged, and we're a place that seeks to be tolerant and inclusive, and where people of diverse national, cultural and social backgrounds come together here to enjoy excellent education and a shared student experience. At Strathclyde, we all benefit greatly from having staff and students from over 100 different countries. Ours is a socially progressive community, and one that seeks to be an exemplar for modern society by being plural, by being multicultural, and we seek to be enlightened in the form of how our university came into being, which I'll comment on in a moment. And it's our responsibility, importantly, it's your responsibility, graduates, to continue to challenge unacceptable practices, including among those in power. And my goodness, behaviours of those in power these days leaves a lot to be desired. And by using reason and exemplifying the best features of modern society as we face down the horror of war again in Europe, in the eastern part of Europe, seeing the horrifying and inhumane acts of Putin. But most importantly, if we come back to today, we're here to acknowledge your hard work, the learning that you've built up, and the successful completion of your degree courses. This will be your passport to making a full contribution to your career and to society, in spite of the flux that we're all facing. And today, of course, we're celebrating the first in-person season for graduation ceremonies since the beginning of the coronavirus pandemic, which has had far-reaching and unprecedented impact in all of our lives. And because the pandemic has changed the health systems, it's impacted our economies, and it's changed the way in which we work and study. Although it wasn't the benefit we looked for, in years to come we'll look back at COVID as being a big accelerator for digitisation in the economy and indeed in our lives, as well as a driver for achieving net zero. But you heard some of that from Leslie earlier on. But very importantly, it's also demonstrated what society can achieve when we work together, a deep commitment to collaboration, and that's placed science, and not least of which your discipline, computer science, at the forefront of finding solutions to the challenges that we face. And it was science, universities and innovative industry that delivered vaccines for COVID-19 in record time. And it's science, engineering and education that will help us address other pressing issues, such as climate change, as we've talked about. In November last year, the city of Glasgow was at the centre of world's attention as we hosted COP26. And whilst it had been delayed because of the pandemic, it was wonderful at last to have the world come here and for us to greet and work with the world to look at measures to minimise global warming and climate change. And this city's name now is associated with that through the Glasgow Climate Pact, which has made a difference. Let's hope the momentum continues in Egypt later this year. As a university community, we are also acutely aware, as well as most importantly educating fantastic graduates such as we see today. As an institution, we need to play our part fully, and we seek to reduce all of our emissions to 70% by 2025 and to reach net zero before 2040. But COP26 has brought Strathclyde into the limelight as well. I had the privilege of dining with and speaking to John Kerry, the Special Presidential Envoy for Climate for President Biden. We had Alok Sharma, the President of COMEC, COP here on the campus. He opened the Conference of Youth. What a vibrant, energetic session that was. The week before COP, we had hundreds of young people from around the world here on our campus, laying out an agenda and a manifesto that they expected my generation, rightly, to pay attention to, because many of the problems have been born of our professionalism and occasionally ignorance of the impacts of what we're going to do. And Alok was here. I also spent some time with Michael Bloomberg, a fellow electrical engineer, as it turned out. Well, he was an electrical engineer for a couple of years, and then he went to Harvard, got a business degree, and then decided to become a billionaire instead. But he was pleased to be in this city, felt the warmth. But the highlight, of course, is when ex-President Barack Obama came here onto campus. We're welcomed here, and it wasn't a flying visit. He spent 4 hours with us into our new learning and teaching building, where you will all be joining us shortly when we go for some refreshments. And he was there to meet young people, activists, scientists, engineers, social policy individuals that were trying to make a difference and get the attention of world governments. And, of course, you can't keep a secret. When Mr. Obama came here, it was quite quiet because of security. But with the power of social media, by the time he left, there were about 600 people outside the building waiting to say goodbye to him. And as he turned round to say goodbye, he shouted 2 simple words. And at the top of his voice, he shouted, "Get active." And that's what I would say to you today, Strathclyde graduates. Get active in your careers, in your personal lives, and the things that you do to make a difference. And you'll choose what that means. But getting active is what Strathclyde's all about. And that's useful learning, which I'll talk about. And that's what fuels me as a Strathclyde graduate. I was brought up here in the city of Glasgow in a sunny hamlet called Govan, just at the other side of the Clyde. My father and my two brothers served their time in Fairfield shipyards, and I was about to follow their path into that particular route, but my mother had greater hopes for me in terms of getting me into university. And the town of Govan's motto is nihil sine labore, or nothing without hard work. And bear that in mind. You're all very smart, you're all highly achieved, you're all ambitious, and you're passionate for what you're about to do. But remember, hard work is very often the fuel that makes the difference. So apply yourself. But as Leslie said, enjoy yourself while you're doing it. Have fun's part of that mix as well. But today, you've all become Strathclyders. You're joining Strathclyde alumni, and you're the latest of our torchbearers, just like many generations that have gone before you. And with all that you've come through now, I'm sure you would agree that you could not have done this without the backing and encouragement of the fantastic people that are in the room here with you today. And it's fitting that we acknowledge their part of the successful completion of your university studies. The graduates and the university at large owe all of you a great debt of gratitude. So, graduates, university staff, please join me in thanking the families, the friends and the supporters for everything they've done to support our students. Thank you. And for our fantastic academic staff and our professional staff as well, your success is ultimately their reward. This is, again, one of the highlights of our occasion. They've sought to give you a high-quality education and support your great student experience. So, graduates, now join me, please, in thanking the staff for everything they've done for you. Thank you. As you leave the hall shortly, just bear in mind a few facts about your institution. Because I say, you're Strathclyders, you belong to us and we belong to you. Strathclyde was founded in 1796, so we're 226 years old, founded originally under the banner of Anderson's Institution, although I'd still like to lead this place like a 200-year-old startup organisation with that same sense of excitement and purpose when we were established through John Anderson's will. And throughout our history, we've been true to our founding principles. And in the language of 200 years ago, I quote that we were established for the benefit of all mankind, which really means making a difference. You know, strong education, pursuit of research, but make it happen, make it work. And we were the only higher education establishment to be created in Scotland during the Enlightenment. That's a real distinction for this place. And we're now driving forward our university strategy in that same exciting spirit, making it wholly relevant for the 21st century. Our founder, who I mentioned, John Anderson, was a natural philosopher, or a physicist as we would call him these days, who had a strong relationship with Benjamin Franklin, the well-known American inventor. Franklin also helped establish the University of Pennsylvania in 1751 under the banner of useful knowledge. And Anderson, our founder, was inspired by that. What was going on in Europe under people like von Humboldt, what was going on here in Scotland under the great wisdom of people like Adam Smith and Hume. He also had Franklin encouraging him to make a difference. So that's when we were established under the banner of useful knowledge. And never has that motto been more relevant and more important as it is now today in the need that we have in society. And the motto should always be remembered by our staff and students, still defines our purpose as a leading international technological university that seeks to be socially progressive. So, for example, across the campus as you've walked here to the Barony Hall today and in the buildings that you'll have seen, our academics and our students are developing drugs to diagnose and fight diseases. For example, we have several drugs on clinical trials in the areas of cancer treatment, kidney disease, infection management and inflammatory diseases. Strathclyders are producing the next generation of energy technologies and policy solutions to tackle climate change and establish a low-carbon economy. We are revolutionising global manufacturing and helping to create the fourth industrial revolution, or Industry 4.0, as it would be called. And for all of you, that means robotics, AI, data analytics, really at the heart of renewing and revitalising manufacturing. Our students continue their work in Africa, cleaning systems for water purification and power supply delivery, deploying healthcare systems in remote communities, and introducing new telecommunications infrastructure. and they're bringing prosthetic limb and bioengineering technology to those in need across the globe. And we're also working to inform public policy, because it's the lawmakers, it's those in government that really have to put their foot on the accelerator, and we do that through advice on national economic strategy and on education, health, energy and innovation strategies. We're in the process of completing a £1 billion investment in the campus. That'll be concluded in the next couple of years, and one such building is the Technology and Innovation Centre down in George Street, where our academics are working in low-carbon energy, photonics and pharmaceuticals. The American inventor Thomas Edison called his technical teams and his laboratories his inventions factory. Well, TIC has become our innovations factory, and it's stimulating a lot of activity here in the city and across Scotland. We've created the first innovation district in Scotland here, and subject to our court's approval in the next few months, we hope to invest another £150 million as our campus moves out onto High Street and Ingram Street, working in a new industry partnered activity in medtech, fintech, quantum technology, industrial informatics, 5G, 6G communications, and space technology, where your department, CIS, is in the heart of much of that. And we're also talking about philanthropic generosity. Just last year, Dr. Charles Huang, who was a double graduate from Strathclyde, MBA, PhD, came to us and donated £50 million. Now, you won't know Charles necessarily, but you may have seen the name of one of his companies, Innova Medical Group, because it was along the side of your lateral flow test boxes that have all become so used to in the past couple of years. And Charles is now intent in creating a foundation to distribute £1 billion of his wealth. And he started with his 2 universities. Ironically, he got his first degree from Wuhan University, and then to Strathclyde. And what we're doing now is investing with Charles in our students, or the entrepreneurial activity and their ability to make a difference. The other innovation district we're involved in is out at Glasgow Airport. Now that we're all mobile again, please keep an eye out for 2 big buildings at the side of the runway. There's a large building with a serrated roof. That's the National Manufacturing Institute for Scotland, working with Rolls-Royce, Boeing and Airbus, and a whole raft of other companies to modernise manufacturing. And adjacent to it is the Medicines Manufacturing Innovation Centre, delivered with CPI, GSK and AstraZeneca, trying to accelerate the way that drugs are not only discovered, but how we manufacture, distribute and deliver them. But useful learning is all about supporting business and industry with the tools that they need to be more innovative and to promote economic growth. But very importantly, we're here to transform the lives of our students, their families, and as many others as we possibly can. And we still attract, as I mentioned, many first-generation students to Strathclyde. And these are some of the reasons why we've had a lot of independent recognition for not just what we do, but how we work. We're the only university here in the UK to have won the UK University of the Year twice at the Times Higher Education Annual Awards. We were the Sunday Times Scottish University of the Year, and also, interestingly, awarded the prize for Higher Education Workplace of the Year. I was particularly pleased with that, because that's about the environment we're creating, so that our students can thrive and our staff can do what they do best, and that's innovate, collaborate, and make a difference. So Strathclyde continues to have a disproportionate impact here in Scotland on the world generally. Most importantly, graduates, it's because of you. You are our biggest and most valuable outcome. When you go into your careers, when you go and make a difference, it's you that change the world. We have the privilege of educating and you setting on your journey. And here in Scotland, the government spends about £1.2 billion on higher education. But we're an investment, not a cost, because in return, Scottish universities put £10 billion back into the Scottish economy, so necessary as we face the challenges that we see on a daily basis. But I have to say that the Faculty of Science, under the leadership of Professor Duncan Graham, a world-class chemist and bio-nanotechnologist, and your department working in programming languages, working on digital health, cyber security, looking at artificial intelligence, you have an opportunity to change the world and use your knowledge for the benefit of others. So, let me move to a conclusion, because I know you've got those pubs and restaurants to get to as well. This is the exciting context in which you should view your awards. You are now graduates of a university that places students at the very heart of everything that we do. We value excellence in education and research, as we should do, but we also create strong connections with society at large, as well as with the business world. And with regard to internationalisation, the best universities in the world reach out. They compete, of course, but we contribute and we collaborate with others. In North America, our principal partners are Stanford, New York University and MIT, household names in academic excellence, and strong relationships with the University of Southern California, and in Canada, it's Waterloo. In China, it's Peking University and Tsinghua, the #1 and #2 universities there, and the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. And we have a raft of other strong partnerships right across Europe, because in spite of Brexit, we're still married to our friends and colleagues in Europe in terms of collaboration and opportunities for our students. But all of you have benefited too from being part of an international university. That has helped you emerge with the skills necessary for yourselves and for Scotland and the countries that you will work in to make a full part and contribution in the world. And you've also been exposed to the richness and value of different cultures and traditions. Never forget that. But most importantly, you'll leave here today understanding your obligations as global citizens. And with regard to socially progressive mission, I talked about my own journey briefly. Just 2 weeks ago, our first graduation of the season was the Children's University. I'm the Chancellor of the Children's University, which is a great privilege. And we had 150 5 to 12-year-olds sitting where you're sitting, in their robes, in their mortarboards. Very excited, I have to say, but their mums and dads were here. These are youngsters from what's called low attainment areas. I don't like that terminology. It's places where I was brought up. And they were here to get their degrees from the Children's University. So if they go to the Burrell Collection or Kelvin Grove Art Galleries, they get a digital stamp in their passport. If they go to the Glasgow Science Centre, if they go to night classes, they get another stamp. And many of them take their parents with them. Because in the room with them, with their mums and dads, most of whom had never walked across the threshold of a university. And we were telling them this place is for them every bit as it is for anyone from the system. And they came marching across here to get capped. Some of them skipped across, I have to say. One ran across and I just missed them with my cap. But what a great way for them to go on that journey. I had 5-year-olds with bachelor degrees, I had 10-year-olds with master's degrees, and some 12-year-olds with PhDs, colleagues, so look out. They're coming soon. And as my colleagues know, I love those ceremonies because it's one of the few ceremonies where I get to look tall. It's fantastic. Although there are some tall 12-year-olds, let me tell you. But with all of that, in spite of that opening the door, we have retained the 5th highest entrance requirements in the UK. So it makes a nonsense of the notion that standards are adversely affected by having a strategic commitment to widening access. So, to conclude, if I characterise this university, your university in 2022, I would describe us as being distinctive, having ambition, focus and momentum, and we continue to work, as we all have to, with agility and commitment, so necessary to absorb the political and economic uncertainties that we face. It's a wonderful privilege for me to lead this institution with the fantastic support I get from my executive team, from the academics, professional service and support staff. And I truly believe that our founder, John Anderson, would recognise what we are doing today as the embodiment of what he sought to establish during the Scottish Enlightenment, namely useful learning. And to all of you now in the Barony Hall, I'm certain that today's graduates will have an enormous impact in society and that 2022 can be truly a vintage year. You've shown resilience under difficult circumstances, you've been courageous, you've been mature, and we're all very proud of what you've achieved. So with that in mind, as you leave this hall today, you leave not just with an award, but with your responsibilities as you join a community of Strathclyders almost 200,000 strong there in the world. Just remember that whatever you do with your degree and whatever you decide to pursue your career, truly useful learning means that you apply your knowledge for the benefits of others. Please make a positive impact both for yourselves and the communities that you belong to. Respect diversity and value freedom of expression and thought, and reach conclusions and resolve disputes through reason and tolerance. These are the very core values of your institution. We're all here now, of course, to mark your achievements, and well done to all those who have received their degrees today. On behalf of the University of Strathclyde, I'd like to extend my sincere congratulations to you all. Wish you every success in your future careers, and please stay in touch with us so that we know what your progress looks like. Well done again, and please enjoy the rest of this very special day. Thank you. Thank you for that. Now, just as we can, we're going to process up the aisle. Please join us. If you take a right when you come out of the hall, we're going to the Learning and Teaching building where there are refreshments and some nibbles, but most importantly, we get a chance to say hello to you and get a chance to meet the families as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'll declare this congregation closed. I'll ask you to be upstanding and thank you once again. You did.